What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostColdMag.com. I am back once again, remoting in to discuss the life and times of Ace Frehley of Kiss. We've got a special guest coming in soon. My buddy Ken Pierce from Piercing Metal and Ken Pierce Media. I don't know anybody who loves Kiss more than Ken, and he has some very special memories to share about Ace and Kiss. We've done a lot of Kiss coverage at Ghost Cult. We did the Why Is Kiss Retiring for the End of the Road shows, which Ken did attend. And, I've been a lifelong Kiss fan basically since I could remember. I love the band. And this is, just horrible. We've had a lot of losses this year. As you can see my Halloween tree there in the corner. A lot of losses this year. I'm still really shook up from the Ozzy death, even though, we knew he was sick for a long time. But this one hurts and hits differently, right in the childhood. So I did my live stream last night, my weekly show. If this is your first time here, we go live a bunch of times a week. We run interviews with metal heroes and rock legends all week long. We do content at GhostColdMag.com for all your rock and metal news, concert tours, festival needs. So without further ado, let me first do some minutiae. This is a great photo taken by Hillary Jason of Ghost Cult at Psycho Las Vegas 2019. We covered Ace a lot as a solo artist. We reviewed his final album released in his lifetime, 10,000 Volts. A lot of discussions. Monday, I will be back on live to reveal the next two bands on the Mojave Experience Festival lineup coming next March to Joshua Tree. I thought the stream went very well last week. We're going to do these every week until the full lineup is revealed. I'm really excited about this. Tune back in Monday if you love stoner doom and psychedelic rock. Also, I had my show last night. The Weekly Ritual is every Thursday afternoon, evening, West Coast time, East Coast about 8 o'clock at night, and Europe overnight. So go follow us and check in on that to catch you up on everything you missed. Also, we are still giving away tickets to the Cult, Death Cult, Failure, and Patriarchy in LA. Feel free to enter if you have a legitimate shot of going to the show. And I think that is all the details. Usually we ask for tips on these shows. Feel free to tip us if you want. I'll gladly whack it up with my co-host for today, Ken. If we get any tips, I'll gladly tip him one. We are not on TikTok today. We're just doing all the regular socials. So feel free to jump in the comments. If you have any special memories of Ace, feel free to share them. Looks like some people are watching on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch right now. And man, we're here. There's our Cash App. If you want to scan it, pause the video, and drop us a tip. We also accept super chats and super likes and thanks on YouTube. And so, we're here to talk about Ace, man. And this is it's just hitting me a certain way hard. And here, let's put the custom layout behind me. And here to talk Ace and Kiss with me is one of my best friends in the world and one of my most respected and esteemed colleagues, Ken Pierce of Piercing Metal and Ken Pierce Media. Ken, how are you doing today?
I am shocked. I'm shocked. It hasn't really 100% hit me that Ace is gone, but it's a real gut punch, like you said. Losing Ozzy not too long ago and dealing with the impact of the metal fabric of reality was one thing, and then for me. I am as close to a lifelong Kiss fan. I got into them maybe like 9 or 10. I think I first heard them. So having one of the original members of Kiss pass away is just like so. But other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah. Ken just had an epic weekend last weekend at New York Comic Con, and you are a soldier. I've covered Comic Con with you. It is impossible to keep pace with the great, indomitable Ken Pierce. And I miss those times, my friend. I miss them, and I hope
his flattery is really nice. He's not incorrect. I knew more than 200 people at Comic-Con, and I thank the stars above that I saw no more than 3 of them, because I do not have time to stop. I walked something like 26 and a half miles in 4 days across Comic-Con. So, but yeah,
it's amazing. I know this is a real grim and terrible thing to say. I did not expect Ace to pass away. Obviously, he went pretty quickly after that accident. Not that I, like Peter is the one who has been in poor health the most, right? Like I know Paul is like almost a bionic man now with shoulder surgeries and knee replacements and a hip replacement from all that ass shaking on stage and jumping around. But Peter's the one who had a cancer scare. He had breast cancer, and he beat it. But he's older and doesn't do as much. And even he had like sort of talked about doing a lot of conventions and fan events. And he, like his enthusiasm is waning because he's older and, doesn't see himself touring anymore. I don't think Peter's going to go first, but like Peter's older. And, we really are reminded of the fragility of these guys. Anybody over, 70 is not old to me, but Diane Keaton just passed away at 79, and all maybe this is a little bit of a wake-up call. Gene just crashed his car last week. He easily could have died. Imagine if Gene perished and then Ace died. Like, what a fucking brain fuck that would have been.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the thing is, we are getting at the age where our heroes in music and in entertainment, like the films and television shows, they're at the age where they say thank you, good night, and they go off to that whatever's after this. So I guess it's more on our minds now because we're getting older too. It relates. I said to a friend of mine, we had gone to Judas Priest. This is not the recent Priest show, and I'm sorry that I have a little bit of a sore throat. I'm sucking down lozenges to not choke while we talk. But I had said during one of the recent Priest shows, we were coming back and my friends were harping about some of the songs that were played and some of the songs that were left out. And I said, hey, wait a minute, guys, like I'm going to be 60 in a couple of years, and that's already happened. The other one is his mid-50s. The other one is late 50s also. And I said, isn't it amazing for us to be coming back from a Judas Priest concert when we used to go see them and listen to them in our high school years? Think about how fortunate we were. And, and the same applies to Kiss. We had Kiss in whatever incarnation people want to harp about and say, oh, it's not this, it's not that. We had Kiss until 2023. We still have AC/DC. We did still have Ozzy until only a few years ago when he was just too ill to play. We still have Alice Cooper. These guys are up there, and it's sad to have to realize that they will not be up there much in some time. So I don't know.
Yeah, we have Rush. We have Rush coming back. Apparently, tickets are anywhere from, I've heard, $400 to $650.
Home equity loan to internal organ you don't need, right?
There goes your children's college fund, and there goes your retirement. But I mean, if you never saw them, maybe it's going to be worth it. We can pick that up at another time. I think as we get closer to next June, maybe we'll do another roundtable and discuss Rush a little ahead of that comeback. I would love to have you back, of course, always. I also saw that Cooper and Priest tour out here this week. I had like one of the most metal weeks of my life. I hosted karaoke on Sunday. I did a whole bunch of metal jams. I went to karaoke on Monday, and I did some interesting, fun songs. I saw Judas Priest and Cooper and COC on Tuesday at Shoreline Amphitheater in the Bay Area. My first time there, Mountain View, where Google is technically. And then Wednesday, I went to see Dark Angel, Sacred Reich Violence, Hyrax, Midnight, incredible week of metal. And then this Ace news, started developing. And I just want to take 1 second. I soapboxed a little last night on my show. You might have heard me. Most of the people who do what we do have not been doing this well or professionally for a long time. And I want to urge anyone who this is not the audience for it, but if anybody is watching this, and you're in our brethren or our sisterin or they thems who do what we do, be kind and gentle when it comes to reporting illnesses and deaths, because it was like ramshackle. Ace is dead. Ace is dead. Ace is passed. It's passed. Way hours before an official announcement. Really think carefully. TMZ, Blabbermouth will probably have it first. And in terms of the Kiss and Ace sphere, Eddie Trunk would have known first. John Astronomy, Ace's friend and manager and co-memoir author, would have known first. And no one else. People did not know that he was gone until those sources confirmed it. So, like, I know this is really just a thing for me and you. We complain and kvetch quietly to ourselves about like the lack of ethics and journalism skills, but when you have to report about a death of a celebrity, judge slowly and make sure it's authenticated before if a lot of people were just blurting out shit for clicks and attention. Let me get my post out now. Yeah, but he didn't actually. Yeah, he has family that might not have been told before they saw it on Facebook, and I hate that. I hate that in general. There was definitely some things I've reported on where the families didn't know, and we knew before the families knew, and people were mad and privately messaged me. So I try to be a little more soft about that now.
Well, I certainly don't like having to post this kind of stuff, and and I certainly hate having it be something like you got to keep up with the Joneses, because for all of our respective impact and the audience that both you and I are fortunate to reach, we're not the TMZ level of mediums, so no one's going to knock on our door first and say, he died 2 seconds ago, and then they throw out an article 18 seconds after it happens. And I don't think that's right either. I said the family has to digest passing and then say, all right, go out there and do it. I mean, you brought up Eddie Trunk. A few days ago, he said that he got on social media and he said, I know exactly what happened to Ace and I can't say anything. Well, I don't know why he needed to even say that. And I like Eddie. I love listening to him and I love his stories about all of these great bands. But it's the kind of thing that I don't think that I would have said if I knew such a person like Ace. I don't think I would have needed to have that be, I have a secret and you can't hear it yet because it's not public knowledge. Maybe after it became public knowledge, you could say, well, I did know this some days ago and I wasn't allowed to say anything. You didn't need to say it beforehand.
Maybe he was doing like a little warning shot.
I don't know. Is there a warning shot with this? Did they? Was the family told? Was the family told he's got 8 hours to live? I mean, if he was on life support, I guess a difficult decision has to be made with that, or did he go while on the life support? I mean, who knows? If the thing is breathing for you, it's a terrible situation. I think all of us in one point in our lives have had relatives that were in a bad state, and it was the mechanics that kept them along, and and whatever family member has to decide on, okay, what are we doing here? Does this help the person? Is he coming out of this? Is it, it sucks. Either way, it sucks. From a probably accidental injury, tripping and falling and, I guess banged his head and there we go. It's just a terrible loss of a great player, and
there's also some speculation he had a stroke and that was how he fell. Like maybe he just
it could happen. I had a friend had a medical issue not too long ago. They blacked out and they banged their head on something, and it's related to heart, it's related to blood pressure, and this is also an older person, and Ace is an older person, so it's like these are things that happen. And it's just unfortunate. He's very much missed. I was listening to a lot of classic Kiss last night. I got one of the classic Kiss shirts on from, well, not necessarily necessarily a classic. It's a reprint, care of Walmart, but it does say Kiss on the back of it. So
Nice.
but yeah.
Yeah, all my shirts are packed away. I'm gonna probably have to get out my Rock and Roll Over and Destroyer shirts at some point soon. I also, if I were a fan, I love Kiss and I love Ace. I don't want Ace. I would not have wanted Ace like anything less than 100% who he is. He may be flawed, but he was authentically himself, for better or worse. And I want that guy, and I wouldn't want him to suffer. And Ozzy suffered for a long time, as we're now finding out. I had a hard time. I listened to some Kiss yesterday, put on a live and a live too, but it was hard to listen to. It was too happy for me. And then, it's not like when John Bonham died, you could go put on like a Led Zeppelin 3 and be contemplative and sad. You can't do that with Kiss. But before we talk about the legacy, which is really why you were here, and I want you to talk about the first time you saw Kiss and the last time you saw Kiss. But before that, let's just quickly talk about the statement that Gene and Paul put out and the statement Monarch Heavy put out. So I'm going to read both of these. Kiss posted this across their socials about an hour after he passed. We are devastated by the passing of Ace Frehley. He was an essential and irreplaceable rock soldier during some of the most formative, foundational chapters of the band and its history. He is and will always be a part of Kiss's legacy. Our thoughts are with Jeanette and Monique and all those who love them, including our fans around the world, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of Kiss. And then sometime later, Monarch Music Group, Monarch Heavy, Ace's label, for the last, 15 years, 10 plus years at least, Monarch Music Group official press statement for the passing of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, founding member of Kiss, and guitar legend Ace Frehley. No lies detected. With profound sorrow, Monarch Music Group mourns the loss of the iconic and beloved rock guitarist and Monarch recording artist Ace Frehley, who passed away today at age 74. Quote, our thoughts are with his family, friends, and the devoted community of fans who have stood faithfully by his side through every era of his career, says Monarch President and CEO Steve Stevenson. Quote, we at Monarch Music Group are deeply honored to have worked alongside of Ace and been his label home since 2014, so 11 years. His creativity, humor, and passion for music will remain an enduring part of Monarch's story. And there's a little bit more about, already. The Spaceman changed rock in the spirit of rock forever. Fiery playing, unmistakable style, larger than life. Nice one there. Presence inspired generations to pick up the guitar and chase their own musical dreams. No complaints there. What'd you think about the Paul and Gene statement?
To the point. It was to the point. Because Gene and Paul and the relationship with Peter and Ace is going to be dissected by everybody that listens to either side. So I felt that they kept it safe, they kept it classy, and they were respectful. I can't imagine that they are anything less than heartbroken about Ace passing away. Even if they were head-to-head fighting, or bickering about things in the press or in the private. This was their brother when they were on 10 East 23rd Street in that loft, making it all happen, right?
Right up the block from Gramercy Theater, right?
Whenever I'm around there, I always tell the bands that this building is right up the block, and several of them have gone on their break and walked up to the building just to see it, which is really cool. So,
right on. When I was in Boston, I used to tell people, "Hey, across the street there, from that next to that Pizzeria Uno, the basement is where Aerosmith first rehearsed." So it's kind of fun. It's fun to know those things. And you and I had a fun, adventurous day in
we did.
Summer of 23. We walked around the East Village and noted all the landmarks of now disappeared places. It's tough, man.
That Beastie Boys mural got erased. I'm like, I don't know why that.
Yeah, the Bad Brains one is still across the street from where CB's was.
I have to go back and see it now that all the scaffolding is not around it. But that's a sidebar. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Omar posted a nice video of that Bad Brains mural the other day, which we shared on Ghost Call. And before that, it was a Blondie mural, which I also loved when I worked briefly at Bowery Electric. I don't think Peter has social media anymore. Did he make a statement at all?
I didn't see anything. Well, no, wait, I did see something. Let me see.
Loudwire said like Peter has a statement. Yeah, if you can. I just kind of did a cursory search, and I don't see anything. He might not have. Peter's very private. He's much more or less online. He's not terminally online like the rest of us, right? He's living life.
Well, it scrolling through, it looks like Loudwire posted something, but it seems to be connected to the other. Oh yeah, okay. So Peter's statement, according to his personal website, Peter says, "With a broken heart and deep sadness, my brother Ace Frehley has passed away. He died peacefully with his family around him. My wife and I were there with him to the end as well. I love you, my brother. My love and prayers go out to Jeanette, Monique, Charlie, Nancy, and all of Ace extended family, bandmates, fans, and friends. May the Lord comfort you at this difficult time." Papa Bad. As a founding member of the rock group Kiss and in Ace's solo career, Ace influenced and touched the hearts of millions. His legacy will live on in the music industry and in the hearts of the Kiss Army. At this time, I ask all of you to be respectful to Ace's family and allow them to grieve privately. To the Kiss Army and Ace's rock soldiers, my heart is with you all. Broken, God bless, Peter Criss. So quite a bit more than what Gene and Paul said. But as I said earlier, Gene and Paul need to kind of monitor the safety and the dissection of anything they say by people, because I mean, I had friends that would refuse to go see Kiss because Tommy was in the makeup, and it's like, okay, well, you know, and I've had them. I was a fan before them, and they told me I was not a fan anymore because I was willing to. I said, I'm sorry, guys. I said I would have preferred Ace in the band still too, but Kiss music brings me joy, and I'm not about to give that up to appease any opinion.
As we're finding out, life is very short, and we need to find the joy and embrace the joy and not let people shit on our joy. But I will say that I vehemently did not go see Kiss until the reunion tour with Ace and Peter, because I was mad about them not being in the band or brought back. But you know, I maybe I regret that now. I really love Revenge. That's the Kiss record, that non-Ace and Peter record that I love, plus the Unplugged, which we'll talk about in a minute. So to reel it back, now that we, you know, the beautiful statement by Peter, and he's always been, you know, for a schmucky kid from Canarsie, right, who was a street gang kid with a soulful voice and a good jazz drumming style, Peter always was like the heart and soul of Kiss more than anything else. And he, of course, he's going to be classy, and I know he's very faithful and stuff like that from his book. I have actually never read the Ace books, and now I kind of want to go back and get those books. And there's 3 of them out, and one was got ghost written, right, by John Astronomy. One is
no regrets. I have no regrets. Is that the one?
Yeah, that one. That's the John Astronomy co-written book, co-written air quotes. Can you see Ace writing down a book? Can you? I can't see him writing a book. But what are you kidding me? I can't write a book. I'm busy soloing. You know, you know, Ace, to take it back, he was the most talented member of Kiss. I will always go down saying that. He's clearly the most talented person in Kiss. He is the only person that continued to evolve and improve over the classic Kiss era. His solo album is far and away the best Kiss solo album, and Peter is my favorite member of Kiss. And Ace's solo record is the best. Even if you take out New York Groove, it's the best. He's the only member of Kiss to have a good solo career. Frehley's Comet. You know, the covers records are good for what they are. I didn't love 10,000 Volts, but he's got enough. You know, he has the platinum solo Kiss record and enough actual excellent, influential Ace Frehley and Frehley's Comets records. You know, Gene's solo career sucks. Paul hasn't really, other than Soul Station, he hasn't really tried to do a vaunted solo career. Peter's stuff's up and down, mixed bag. So, you know, Ace really is the guy. A whole 2, 3 generations, 4 generations of guitar players got into picking up a Les Paul because of Ace Frehley. And like, you can't even, you know, okay, they're better lead guitar players than him, sure. But like, for what he brought to Kiss and what he did in those high heel boots that he could barely walk in, he really truly was larger than life. He was incredible. He left an indelible fingerprint on rock. You know, what do you think about Ace's endearing influence as a guitar player and a guitar player from Kiss?
I was fortunate enough to see Kiss. So I liked them for years before I got to see them. I had heard them on the radio a couple of times because Rock and Roll Night was played on the radio as a single, and Beth was not out yet. Well, they would play Strutter on some of the rock radios, and I was like, oh, this is catchy. Who's this? I'm a kid of maybe 9 or 10 at the time. And then I saw the commercial for Alive 2 at my parents were at something, and I was in the house with the kids that were in that house, and the Kiss commercial came on for Alive 2, and I saw this, whatever this was. I was like, oh, and I liked it, and I was able to get a copy of Alive 2 from the record store, and I had to see this live. But we didn't go to see the New York shows of Alive 2, but the parents were kind enough to take me to the Dynasty tour, and I got to see them in the Madison Square Garden. We were way, way up, and but it didn't matter because Kiss was such a big thing, and the band, that stage was very sparse, and then they came up from the bottom, and they all had their colors. Gene was red, Paul was purple, and Peter was green, and Ace was blue, and it just was like a magic show come to life with heavy music, and just watching him shoot the rockets at the lights and blowing those up, and the guitar going on fire and smoking was just crazy. And I was 12, and I was like, oh my God, I never saw anything like that before. And it was my very first concert. So it's a special memory. And I wouldn't see Ace in the band again until the reunion tour of 96. And that was something I never, ever thought was going to happen. When they came out and were standing there with Tupac, I was like, oh my God. I mean, yes, they had reunited on the Unplugged, but who knows if that was just a one-off, So I'm sorry, I've gone off tangent here.
No, you're good. We're going to get to the Unplugged in a second and the reunion in a second. That's a wonderful memory. I love whenever you talk about it. You talked about it extensively in our Kiss End of the Road roundtable with all our other friends. And, I didn't get to see Kiss, but my brother, Bill, who is now passed on, saw Kiss many times. And that's how I got into Kiss. He played Rock and Roll over and over. Alive 2, Destroyer, and Rock and Roll over and over and over, and Love Gun. And I bought my first vinyl on my 5th birthday. It had come out over the summer while I was still 4, and I got some money for my allowance. We were pretty much impoverished the whole 70s and early 80s. But I got a little bit of birthday money, and my mom was like, what do you want to get? Do you want to go to Corner's department store and get a G.I. Joe? And I was like, no, I want to go get Rock and Roll Over because Billy won't let me play his or touch the records. Don't touch my guitars. Don't touch my records. Okay. FOMO. So we walked down from, AD Avenue and White Plains Road and the North Bronx, where I lived on the 2 train line. We walked to Pelham Parkway. It seemed like the longest walk of my life at that time. And we walked back because my mom needed to get her steps in. And we got Rock and Roll Over, and I took it home, and I took it out, and I just looked at it, and it came with the stickers on the cover, and I put the stickers on my turntable, my little first turntable, and it was unbelievable. And I love Kiss. We got in the Kiss Army at like 5, 4 or 5. I was in the Kiss Army, and they sent the little certificate and the patch and a little little stickers. And just like you, we had the color forms, the lunchbox, the dolls, the Viewmaster, everything. What was your favorite piece of, the music is one thing, but what was your favorite piece of Kiss merchandise when you were a kid?
I think it was the dolls, even though I didn't love the way that the dolls were very unposable. Peter had the most posability in terms of a figure, but the Gene, the Paul, and the Ace figure was very, very limited articulation, as they say in the toy industry. And and the boots did not have any of the garish style to them. They just were regular black and silver boots on the feet, and then the thighs were extra pieces of cloth that they had put on these dolls. But it was still great. You had the guitars on the back, and you had to cut those guitars out, and I did that. I wish my Kiss dolls were mint in box, but nothing from that age was mint in box. You know, if anybody who says they have them mint in box meant that they found a relative who had this stuff in the basement of a store that didn't sell them, and that's the only reason they're, because nobody kept stuff in boxes back then. Nothing. But
right.
That was probably my favorite. I don't recall ever owning the lunchbox. I did have the color forms. I wish I still had those just for the pieces. They could have been turned into some kind of artwork. And
the Shrinky Dinks.
I didn't have the Shrinky Dinks. I had, and I still have them. It was like a press-on kind of thing that the image would go onto a piece of cardboard, and they were like standees. Maybe I'll pull those out one of these days. They're in an envelope somewhere. And I do have the Viewmaster, which was based on the Dynasty photo sessions, which was really cool. And,
I know I'm in the minority. I hated I Was Made for Loving You, but looking back on it, Dynasty is not a bad album. Unmasked is not a bad album. Creatures of the Night is not a bad album. I was so heartbroken by the Disco Kiss, and I didn't know better. And now I can laugh at it, but like for a long time, beside my hatred of Journey, my hatred of that one song has maybe will outlast my lifetime. But I love the Kiss dolls. And I also want to shout out, the Kiss comic books from Marvel, because
the comic
book was incredible.
I left the comic book out. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's
made with their blood.
A historical report that ended up being not really true.
I know, but it's so fun.
They did pour.
You believed it.
They did pour a small bottle of each of their blood into red ink vats, and that ink was discarded according to history. I found that out. It probably would have turned.
I think the blood clogged the. I think the blood clogged the printer.
It did something to the ink that was not. Like, this was not a good idea, so it was a fun stunt, and also thinking about it today, where everybody is like masks, washing hands, and everything. That's kind of gross when you think about it now, but yeah, it was still, that is a great Kiss comic book. They are fighting Dr. Doom in that one, and that was great. The second comic had great art, but I did not like the story as well.
Yeah,
but you can find that somewhere. Those two Marvel editions are everywhere. But I got to say that Image Comics put out a Kiss Psycho Circus for quite a while. That was a very uneven storyline for me. And then Dynamite put out a whole run of a bunch of Kiss stories, which were, a lot of them were written by writer Amy Chu, who did stuff. I think she did like Green Arrow, and I think she also wrote some of the DMC comics. So she's
6 degrees of Daryl McDaniels, 6 degrees of separation. He's the best. I will, obviously people are very cynical about Kiss's success as marketers. And I was going to say, like, beside the Star Wars toys commercials from before the first Star Wars came out, before I really even saw the movie, that Kiss jingle for the Kiss dolls, Kiss, that's the name, Kiss, they look insane. That has stayed with me for 50 fucking years, that commercial. It was, you can't calculate if what that's like. We didn't have the internet. We didn't go to the movies all the time. We didn't have cartoons as much as we do now. We didn't have constant stimulation from these electronic idiot boxes. But before I get off my soapbox, let's now talk about like Ace and his solo career. Like we know that 70s Kiss is incredible and they had some other successes. Like I said, I love Revenge, particularly. I'm partial to Revenge of the Bruce Kulick era. And Eric, we always talk, doesn't get enough credit, Eric Carr. But Ace's solo stuff, right? After he left Kiss with this huge reputation, Frehley's Comet, dude, Trouble Walking and Fractured Mirror. Like Van Halen even cited that as incredible guitar stuff. Obviously, Dimebag Darrell, Skid Row, Motley Crue, every band still held up Ace as a solo artist, which he is really, again, the only Kiss artist with a great solo career. I would say it's great. I think it's pretty great.
I got to see the debut of Frehley's Comet when he played L'Amour for the first time as a solo artist, and I think he went on at like 2 a.m, and it was just it was packed to the rafters, and I was right up front, and I didn't get a guitar pick, I know that, but it was right up front, and when he finally came out, it was madness because it was like, oh my God, this is Ace. He's got no makeup on and he's playing these songs off he opened up with Rip It Out, to my knowledge, and he had the great Anton Fig on drums, and Richie Scarlett was there playing rhythm guitar, and I don't remember who else was in the band back then, but it was kick ass, man. It really was kick ass, and and this might have even been before the album came out. I don't think the album was out yet. And when the album came out, I had found out that it was at a famed music store in Brooklyn that I cannot remember the name of now for some reason. And I'm horrible at this. I forgot what it was called. But my friend and I, when I was in Flatbush, so I'm blanking, but we drove out all the way out to Flatbush to get it because the record store that was in my neighborhood did not have a copy yet, and they weren't going to get it for a couple of weeks. But this store had it. We drove out and got it. So
cool. Yeah,
wild
nice
stuff.
Yeah, I saw Ace once as a solo artist. I'm going to say it was like Roseland in the 90s. And he was kind of uneven at the show, but I felt like it was a lot of Kiss love and energy in there. And, I'll be honest, I thought around the time of Revenge, Gene and Paul, I'm not going to not drag them. It doesn't make sense, but like, it is what it is. They were very bitter about Ace and Peter. They knew they could probably make more money if they had Ace and Peter, right? That just stands to reason. Maybe they feel like they didn't need them, just like on the farewell tour, all the farewell tours. But I really never thought they were coming back ever. I never thought, like, occasionally Peter would come out and sing Beth, but there's so much acrimony. I really never thought, even after the Unplugged, which seemed like a publicity stunt, like, why did Kiss even get it Unplugged? But they did. I don't think Revenge was particularly, it's an album from 1991, 92, right? 92. Kiss Unplugged was 95, 96. So, like, I never thought they were going to get back together. When the Unplugged happened, did you think that Ace could return? We'll just take Ace only.
When the Unplugged happened, did I think Ace was going to return? I did not at all expect that either of those guys were going to return, because Kiss was, again, on the climb in a more of a hard rock vibe, and they were doing a different approach to it, and I didn't think that outside of the interest of the fans that they had for all these years, was anybody really interested in going backward and having these guys come out assuming with no makeup on, because why would Kiss ever go back to the way it started? It didn't seem like something logical that they would do. It looked like they had moved past that era, and I'm glad they did, because it was cool. But no, I didn't think Ace was going to stay. Ace had a reasonably successful solo career, and I guess he was about 4 albums in by then, and he would regularly fill mid-size venues, stuff that maybe the size of Roseland, not quite a Hammerstein place, but bigger than those days at Lemoore. Not quite arenas that Kiss would do, but like Roseland style spaces, and he was doing good. He was doing good. He had a kick-ass band with him, and so I didn't see them giving that up because
so that's very well paid. Those are good paying gigs to do casinos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. You mean, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it's hard for me to put into words what it was like for me to see Kiss for the first time on that very first reunion tour. Oh, hey, thanks for the $5 chat there. We're getting old, no doubt. Dio, Ozzy, Ace, Neil Peart, Eddie Money. Yeah, that was a sad one
Eddie
too.
Money.
On and on, going live today. Yeah, thank you for being here, VW Blue Sky. I'm really grateful for the money there, that super chat. I appreciate
And
it.
my friend texted me and said that store was Zigzags that we used
Zigzags. Oh my
That's
God!
where we
I
used to
think I
go
went
to.
there once.
I didn't go there a lot myself because I didn't have the car, and it's like I wasn't really wanting to take 3 buses to go get records. So, but yeah.
I will say that my second oldest patch on my battle vest is my Kiss Army patch, and I bought that at Colony Music in the 80s when I was just in high school, LaGuardia High School. So shout out to places like Zigzags and Colony Music and Bleecker Bob's and Disco Rama and all the awesome, all the cool places we went to buy our stuff. Man, it is hard. It is hard to I'm afraid of what's coming. I had predicted that it could be just a deluge of dudes now. Like I said, hopefully maybe we'll get this at the end here. But so the Kiss does the unplugged. Peter also comes back, and he, fairly, he was decent enough on drums. He was never the hardest hitting guy. He's a jazz drummer first and foremost. And he's prideful. So he wanted to, until he felt maybe, like he couldn't play anymore, like to the standard, he wanted to be out there. And I don't have a problem with that at all. And, there are a lot of bands with a lot of acrimony. Look no further than Pink Floyd taking a pitifully low valuation for their entire catalog at like $400 million because Gilmour told his agent, take the first deal. I don't want to do this anymore with this jackass. So, much respect. It sucks. It sucks that we have to be here today talking about him being gone. Very tragic to end this way. Hopefully didn't suffer too badly. But, and again, Ace is a person who is authentically himself. He is synonymous with Gibson guitars as much as anybody except for probably Joe Perry and Jimmy Page are the only other 2 guys I think of as Gibson guys. There's many people who play Gibsons, and now Metallica is Kirk Hammett is kind of becoming a Gibson ambassador now with a coffee table book and a whole line of Gibsons. But, Seagull Rock Squawk, 79 Gibson Les Paul Sunburst, Ace inspired, only 400 back then. Yeah, and it was original Gibson, not like made somewhere else. But nice work, Seagull Rock Squawk. But I think Ace's later solo career has been interesting. I really liked Anomaly. I thought it was actually like a pretty solid record. I did not love 10,000 Volts, as you know. You did see that tour, I think. And the Origin stuff I thought was
when I saw the 2, I'll say that when I saw the 2 gigs that he did in New York for 10,000 Volts, the first time around he played the song 10,000 Volts, and then 2 other solo songs, and everything else was Kiss. And then the last time around, he did Cherry Medicine from 10,000 Volts, as opposed to the title track, 2 other solo numbers, which were the same as the last time around. And of course, the rest was Kiss. And Part of me was a little mad at that because I said, you know, this is not to speak ill of him, but you know, he always seemed to want to argue publicly about the guys, and it's like, you know, you have a dedicated following, and we love you. We want to hear more of your solo material. You don't have to always rely on the Kiss stuff because your fans are here to hear you play the stuff that you kick some righteous ass on and inspired so many guitar players with. And yes, we want to hear, you know, Cold Gin. We want to hear Shock Me. We want to hear, you know, Rip It Out and stuff. But it was very strange because those two shows he closed with Rock and Roll All Night. And it was just like, wow, okay. I loved it. It was great to hear him do it, but it just struck me as odd, you know. But, you know, you got to, if he thought that that was going to be the better way to close the show, so be it. But I would have liked to hear some of those other deep tracks from, you know, Trouble Walking and so forth. You know, there's a lot of good stuff on those the first three Ace Rock Soldiers albums are killer, you know. So
yeah. And Ace also did the graphic design on all his later albums. So he actually did the design and he did the layout. That Anomaly physical CD that folded out into a pyramid was like, I can't believe he even put that out. It was so expensive to make.
Yeah, that's not easy stuff to do.
to print in the age before 3D printing and, you know, offset stuff. Seagull Rockspark also says the 4 Kiss books were fun to read, being one who can't read between the lines. I got it. Yep, I got it. And some spam on Twitch, of course, as always. I do think Rock and Roll All Night is the solo. He will be remembered. The live version of Rock and Roll All Night from Alive is what put Kiss on the map, is broke them as a band, the album and the single. You know, we said Shock Me. Shock Me is synonymous with Ace. It's probably his most creative solo in terms of a composition. Do you have, I think you once told me Destroyer is your favorite Kiss album and a lot of people's favorite Kiss album. Is that so true?
Yeah, Destroyer was for me the one with the most songs that I liked at the time. But my absolute favorite Kiss album is, I know it sounds terrible to say, the Live 2, because that's the first album I owned by them. So it's my favorite, you know. And,
I mean, those albums were incredible, the 2 live records.
But yeah, Destroyer and then Love Gun, I liked a lot more than Rock and Roll Over. So
I know I'm in the minority. I love Rock and Roll Over. I already told the story. I love that album to pieces, and some of those songs aren't great, but and they don't hold up. But I do love that album, and I feel like it was, you know, kind of a time capsule for them. RC Cola says Trouble Walking is a really good album. Shot Full of Rock is killer. It is killer. RC, thank you. Appreciate that comment. Yeah, man, I gotta say, I still think my favorite Ace solo is She. I think She, right out of the gate, it's incredible. He wrote Cold Gin, like the music, the riffs, right? I think Cold Gin is an Ace composition. It was his first thing he brought into the band. And we know already, we're gonna do another one of these on the Glacial Musical Podcast next week. And Nick Cameron loves to say, like, oh, you know, if you love, do you love Malimo? Then every solo in the Malimo album is also on Kiss, you know, Dressed to Kill and Hotter Than Hell. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it's okay, you know. And by the way, if you love Pearl Jam, all the guitar solos on 10 are all the guitar solos on Dressed to Kill by Kiss, because Mike McCready couldn't think of anything to write himself. So he just played the Kiss solos from the first Kiss record that he had been listening to when they went in to cut solos. It's a story I don't think a lot of people know. Seagull Rockspark says Alive 2 was shocked someone else did 3 solos on the 4th side. Yeah, you know, that was Sheen and Paul's Ruthlessness coming in. Anton Fig plays drums across a bunch of Kiss stuff.
That was Bob Kulick, right? Was it
Bob Kulick? Yeah, and I think one other person came in and did some stuff. Tambora ended up coming in and doing some solos at one point. Interesting that they imagine how different Kiss would have been if they picked Richie. They just didn't pick Richie because he was too tall. Fucking weird. Fucking weirdos. Anyway, I don't want anyone in the band tall. I'm Gene Simmons, and no one in the band can be taller than I or Paul. It's not possible.
And they're tall guys.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I still think the solo from She is incredible for what it, for when it was and what it was. And, I'm really grateful for Bob Ezrin and Destroyer, and I'm grateful for the Kiss management for helping them achieve their, monetary dreams, and Kiss Mania and Dynamite and Tiger Beat and Cream and Circus Magazine that kind of, put Kiss on the map with just the hype of everything. But, I again, Ace is authentically who he is, flawed though he may have been at times. But I'm really, we lived in the time of Kiss. We still live in the time of Alice Cooper and Judas Priest and Metallica and Iron Maiden.
When he was on point on these shows, he was always fun to watch because he was so corny with the jokes, and it was just like, oh my God, Ace, that was terrible. And he's like laughing. He didn't care that the joke was bad and or really not 100% politically correct. It was just like, it was Ace. It was great. And and through guitar picks out by the dozens at these shows. If you were in front, you were going to get a bunch of them. If you were in the back, I don't know. But he was always fun to watch. The last time I got to see him, I guess, was in March. He had played in New York over at Sony Hall, and I went, and we did a fun little giveaway on the website. So I put a whole mess of people into the show as well, which was gratifying to me, and everybody was a Kiss fan as well. So it just made it a better night. You're singing and laughing and rocking and rolling all night. So yeah.
Seagull Rockswalk says never met someone else with that Ace laugh. Well, I think that Ace laugh was his favorite thing growing up was the Three Stooges on Channel 11 in my hometown of the Bronx, New York. Ace is from about 3 miles away from where I grew up. He is from 172nd Street and Bathgate Avenue, which is about 10 blocks north of where Yankee Stadium was and is. And I think of Ace's whole sense of humor as Three Stooges, right? And he is the true to life Curly. Maybe he's not fat and round and bald, but he's got that loosey goosey personality that was great, and a great foil, I think, to Paul and Gene and Peter. And of course, Peter and Ace were closer than the rest of the guys because Peter and Ace were street guys. They were from the streets. They were ghetto as fuck. Even when they were, could pretend to be classy, they were ghetto. And Paul and Gene came from, different upbringings, not broken homes, not drinking and drugs, not, they were Queens guys, just a different breed, as you know. Oh, hey, man, thanks for another super chat. That's really super nice of you. Mr. Speed, 2000 man, Shandy. Some love for Shandy. I never hear anyone talk about Shandy. My favorites never had much radio play. And The Elder, hey, I know they did not like. I did. Some of The Elder is fucking great. It's just too bad
Dark Light from The Elder is great. That's a great Ace song right there.
They did not get
Shandy, I don't think he did. I think my favorites on Unmasked would have to be Talk to Me and Torpedo Girl.
Torpedo Girl, terrible lyrics. Terrible Gene Simmons lyrics, I think. But like an amazing song. Like it rocks the fuck out.
Torpedo Girl was an Ace song.
Was it an Ace song? I don't know. The lyrics are awful.
Come on, get your feet wet.
Actually, I'm a plumber. You know what, man? I will tell you this. It's over now. Off Frehley's Comet second sighting album. So Todd Haworth, he was fucking sick, bro. It's a great song. Ace was totally cool with sharing the spotlight. He had to be. He was more of like an interpreter, not a great singer. But I will say, look, I know that Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park is not good. But the person who, and maybe he deserved it, but the person who got done the dirtiest is Ace. All his stuff dubbed out. His fight scenes are clearly like a black guy in a wig and makeup. Absolutely brutal. Like brutal. All the worst things about Kiss Meets the Phantom is the Ace stuff, which sucks because he's so fucking cool, man. He's the coolest. What an absolute shame. But I still fondly love Kiss Meets the Phantom. It's so bad it's good, Star Child. Like, how can you not fucking use so quotable?
Jeez, brother was an only child.
Yeah, exactly. This is well, of course, yeah, this is pretty funny. I mean, that was like maybe even a dig at Gene. You know, I always say pretty interestingly that my grad school convocation featured Leonard Nimoy as the speaker because he donated his
He
archives
vanished. Where'd you go?
to Boston University, and he's from East Boston, and he actually went to BU for BC and dropped out, but he wanted to give his legacy to BU, thankfully. And he came and spoke to us. He did the whole graduation and he did a private ceremony, which I got to be part of. And he was like, I felt like Star Trek was done. And then I went to the Chinese theater in Hollywood to see a little movie in 1976 called Star Wars. And as we were walking out, I turned to my best friend and said, I think my phone is about to ring about Star Trek again. And he's like, really? Oh, yes. Did you just see what? You see everyone coming out of this theater? I guarantee you my phone is going to ring tomorrow. And tomorrow my phone rang. And I know that Gene and Paul went to see Star Wars, and they were like, dude, let's do Kiss in Star Wars and superheroes. I mean, like the 70s Spider-Man TV show that I also love that no one loves is even better than the Kiss Meets the Phantom, but it's charming in its terribleness. Don't you agree?
Yeah. It was it holds a special place for me. You know, it really does. It does.
Overall, I know you saw the last two ever Kiss shows. As far as the old Kiss, maybe they will again. Gene and Paul will resuscitate the band at Kiss Navy on Land or whatever the fuck they're calling it, which is dumb when you've had a Kiss Army brand for 50 years. But Kiss Cruise on Land, stupid. But how did you feel about Tommy? I know that Ace did not like Tommy, although Ace knew Tommy well, liked him originally, relearned the Kiss catalog from Tommy. But how did you feel about Tommy and Eric kind of taking, you know, obviously it is what it is. They were going to take, their places were going to be taken. Someone had to do it. And I feel like Tommy gets a lot of derision that is unfair to him.
I agree that the derision is unfair. He's a talented musician. He's a great musician. I don't think the makeup was either of their choices. I think that was part of the business model. Gene was quoted at one point saying that letting Vinny and letting Eric have their own identities was probably a mistake because the people that grew with them early didn't take to the other identities and only remembered the core four. And that must have set him on it must always be the original four faces. Could it have been handled better? I guess. I'm not in that marketing meeting back then when they did this. I didn't mind it in concert. I wasn't going to be reticent about it. I wanted to see music I liked played by a band I liked and in faces that I identified with. I think Kiss would have worked if Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer had different faces either way. But that was not the decision they made to go with. But I think Tommy's great. I think he's an amazing guitar player. You know, you said that Ace sometimes was sloppy sometimes, but that's Ace. You know, it was part of the magic. He was just raw, and he would just play it from the heart. Tommy was always tactical, and it was always like perfection. You know, he was never gonna come out with that kind of same vibe because it's two different players. You know, Ace remains one of the most influential guitar players in history, and that's going to be the case going forward for years. You know, I think in some sense, and I don't want to get anybody screaming at me for saying this, because as much as I loved Ozzy and as much as I respected Ozzy and everything Ozzy did, I think someone like Ace Frehley is more influential than an Ozzy was, because Ozzy influenced maybe singers, right? So there's one singer in every band or two singers in every band, depending on your model. But there's 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4 guitar players in a band, depending on who it is. And so many of these guitar players were influenced by Ace Frehley and say it. And they were like, oh, Ace Frehley was the first guitar player I ever saw. or Ace was the first one I ever picked up a guitar because I loved what he played and I loved his identity and I loved his style. So, you know, flame me if you must. That's where I think,
I think Ozzy, for helping create metal and being a pop cultural icon, is a little different.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a slight on him at all.
Yeah, you're just saying as a lot of guitar players picked up the guitar because Ace existed.
Right.
Paul Daniel Ace Frehley from the Bronx, New York, a street tough who could play a little guitar and loved Hendrix and the Beatles and real rock and roll. Also, by the way, I didn't even bring this up. Ace is the illustrator of the iconic Kiss logo.
Yes.
More memorable than the Led Zeppelin Angel or the Black Sabbath Demons or, you know, a whole bunch of, can you remember the Deep Purple logo except the words Deep Purple? I cannot. You know, Judas Priest, I was thinking about the prong during the show, and I was like, oh, you know, they didn't even have the prong until like the 80s. So that's not even their original logo. They had the little scripty font that's like very wussified and fanciful because they were like wearing blouses and cowboy hats and bell bottoms. Ace drew that logo, and you know he is, you know, I mean, Maynard James Keenan posted the famous picture of him today, painted up as Ace as a little kid. Did you have, you know, obviously beside Gene Paul and now Peter, thank you for reading that. Did you have a tribute that you saw that was particularly touching, or they're all kind of just bleeding together for you?
You know, I read the quote from Paul and Gene a couple of times. Alice Cooper wrote a great one. Alice Cooper's was fantastic. I thought Bruce Kulick's was well done. But I did not read a ton of the tributes because it took a while for me to process that he was actually gone, and my phone was just blowing up, and I had to start answering. I know. So
same.
You know, I had friends of my parents down south were texting me saying, "Have you heard?" I'm like, unfortunately, I have, you know, but thank you for reaching out. I appreciate that, you know. So it was a lot. So I didn't really over process any of the memorial posts. I'm glad he's getting them. It doesn't matter to Ace. Will it provide some balm to his loved ones? I think so. But the bottom line is he's gone, and now it's just music and words to carry us through, you know. So
you were a poet and you didn't even know it. Lovely.
I didn't know it.
Very
No,
well said.
I didn't know it.
Didn't know. Very well said. And I can't really add much more to that except I love Kiss and I love Ace and I loved Ace and I will love Ace. And I'm not ready for all our heroes to leave us. I'm still very broken up about Ozzy.
Yeah, same.
And my girlfriend, who said to me last night before we went to bed, like, you know, I've never been like a really huge Kiss fan. Where should I start? And I said, Behind the Music is actually probably, in terms of what's commercially available to everybody. If you don't have the Kisstory DVDs, I think the Behind the Music is very even-handed and fair to them, and kind of ends with the comeback of the reunion tour with Tupac and at the MTV Music Awards, which still is mind-blowing. Even Tupac was like, yo, I'm bugging out. This is wild. I'm introducing Kiss in makeup. This is crazy. And
I liked that one that came out around the reunion tour, the DVD. And I also liked the biography channel two-parter. So
that's a good one. Yeah. That's a real good one. Hey, Ken, thank you for joining me today. I'm going to let you plug all your stuff, but I did want to say thank you for being there for me as my friend yesterday, and thank you for being here as a peer and a colleague today. It's really meaningful for me to have you, the best kissologist I can think of, to be part of this thing.
Thank you. I do what I can. It really is my favorite band, and I'm glad I got to see them for as you know. It's important to say as many times. So I maybe only saw Kiss in full, I think maybe 23 times, because when I started doing this craziness with the reviews and stuff, I wasn't going around to other cities to see the same band. Um, like some of my friends who were diehards also would go 3, 4, 5 shows on a tour. But folks like us, we have to see, oh, well, as much as I'd love to see another Kiss show, Priest is in town next week when these guys are going to be in Omaha. And, oh, Van Halen's coming through. So I got to see Van Halen. So, you know, so I'm happy I got to see them for as many times as I did. I wish there were more to that. But you know, seeing Ace in concert as a soloist, I guess almost a dozen times by history, and seeing him with Kiss, reunion and original, 3 or 4 times was really cool too. So, you know, he's not someone I'll ever forget. I've only met him, I think, twice at events, and I shook his hand, and that's about it. I do have a couple of guitar picks from those shows over the years, but and they will forever remain cherished. But yeah, it's not going to replace the fact that he's not around to do more of this stuff. I said to some of my friends that had gone to that last Ace Frehley show, these 2 particular friends had not really gone to too many shows over the last few years, for whatever reason. And I had said one of the things that breaks my heart also about the passage of Ace was it was such a special night for 3 old friends. And I said that I wanted this to be the first of many Ace shows that we were going to go see, because he always brings a good time, and we always knew all the songs and stuff. And you always left an Ace gig a few feet off the ground, because you sang all night, you yelled all night, you slapped your friend 5, you kissed the girl next to you on the cheek, because it brought all that vibe out, you know. And it was a very good vibe. So, but that's all I got on it all. So
we got a last few comments. Siegel Rock Squawk said the Joker was a perfect cover song for him since New York Groove. And Maurizio hails from Italy. Maurizio, hello boys, my name is Maurizio, and I see you from Italy. Big fan of Ace, the Soul with Peter of Kiss. Sorry for Ace, Tonight in the Sky, Another Shining Star. Bye. Thank you, Maurizio, and thank you, everybody. Ken, again, lovely, great sentiments all. I will never forget seeing Kiss the first time, New Year's Eve, 1996, at the Nassau Coliseum, or the Mausoleum, as I like to call it, as a Rangers fan, but it was still really special. You know, they closed with, you know, Shout It Out Loud, you know, Shout It Out Loud, Rock and Roll Night was the closer. That was the encore. And then it was New Year's, and we drove home like in the glow of the band. It was like surreal that I had seen this band that I watched my whole life. And, you know, we're not ready for our heroes to leave. It's tragic. What happened to him is very sad, and I am very sorry. And again, I urge fans and also music press and other people who do what you and I do, Ken, to be a little more sensible when reporting the death of someone, and don't be vultures. But thank you for being here, my brother, and we'll do it again soon. And I'll see you on the interwebs. Everybody, thanks for watching. Please check out ghostcultman.com. Ken, do you want to plug your stuff real quick? I'm going to have everything linked up.
Yeah, you can find what we're doing on piercingmetal.com, and if you just go to their Google and do a hashtag of piercing metal as one single word, piercing like the ears, metal like the junt, you'll be able to find pretty much everything that we're up to. And also, you can also do Ken Pierce Media as a hashtag, and you'll find far too much stuff online for you to tinker around with. I appreciate anybody that enjoyed what I had to say. Rest in power, Ace Frehley.
Indeed. Mauricio, we're all global here, my friend. Everybody is welcome. We're like AA. Rock and roll and metal will take you whenever you can get in, and in any condition. Ken, thanks for being a part of this, and thank you everybody for watching. I'll be back Monday with the Mojave Experience next lineup reveal, and stay tuned to Ghost Cult Mag for all this and more, and hopefully fewer deaths than more. Peace, yo. Thanks. Hail Ace forever.